Hey everyone, this is JD Prater from Hanapin, and we just wanted to welcome you to our first webinar of 2017, PPC Predictions and Trends You Need to Know in 2017. We've got a great deck for you guys lined up for you guys today. We have two really great speakers that are going to be presenting some really cool stuff. I'll, of course, add in a few things around social. So let's go ahead and jump right into meeting our presenters for the day. So first off is me. So I am JD Prater. I'm the head of paid social here at Hanapin. Feel free to check me out on Twitter and tweet at me any questions that you guys may have throughout the webinar at JD Prater. And I'll kick it over to Matt and then over to Michael. They can do a quick introductions of themselves. So Matt, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Great, thank you, JD, and Happy New Year to both you and Mike. 2017 is going to be a fun year in the paid social industry. So as JD mentioned, I'm a member of Hanapin here. I'm the associate director of search at Hanapin Marketing, dealing with all things Google, Bing, search related. PPC Hero blogger, and you can find me on Twitter at Matt_Umbro, and hopefully, you guys will have some questions for today. Either reach out to us through Twitter, or you can ask the questions directly through the question box within your GoToWebinar panel.
And over to you, Michael.
Thanks, JD. Michael McEuen here. I'm the Director of Marketing at Adstage. We are a search and social ad management platform, allowing you to create, manage, report, and automate across your Google, Bing, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter ad campaigns. You can catch me at @LonoHead, and JD was heckling me about this one, but my Twitter handle there is I have an unhealthy obsession with my Aussie Blue Heeler. It's a dog that I bring into the office quite a bit. And when we picked him up, he was actually only 5 weeks old, a little too young, and peering his head over, call him, there's a little Lono head. So that's where it came from, and I'm sticking with it.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I was wondering where that came from, because as you can see, mine's very boring with JD Prater. Very original, but just went ahead and go ahead and claim that one. So, but cool, guys. I'm excited to have each one of you guys on talking to us about some of the PPC predictions for 2017. For all of those in attendance, you guys can use the hashtag ThinkPPC in your Twitter tweets, and that'll help kind of organize all of them. Afterward, we'll go back through, try to answer any questions that may have come about there. And if you have any questions that you want to be answered on this webinar, we can't guarantee that they'll all be answered, but go ahead and use the question box to send us those questions, and we'll do our best to answer those at the end of the webinar. So let's get started with who is Hanapin. So Hanapin, PPC Hero, HeroConf, you may have heard of one or maybe all three of those brands, but PPC Hero is the world's most popular PPC blog, and our conference is HeroConf, which is the largest PPC-only conference. And that's actually coming up in this April. It'll be in Los Angeles, so please we hope to see you guys there, and feel free to join us there. And then Hanapin is the company that is behind all of these. And so Hanapin is really the industry-leading digital marketing agency that manages and optimizes clients' paid search, paid social, and display programs. So a quick fun fact is our first and second clients are still with us today, 12 years later. So we thought that was pretty cool. And if you ever need a team of experts, we'd love to have you guys reach out to us. So let's talk about who some of these clients are. These are some of the few clients that we actually work with. We work with some big brands, some Fortune 500 companies in a variety of verticals. So feel free to check out our clients page on hanapinmarketing.com to learn more about some of those clients that we have. All right, now over to you guys. We would love to know, how long have you been in PPC? So first poll question. We can kick it over to Matt and Michael. How long have you guys been in PPC? I'm going to assume probably that D range for you guys.
Yeah, I think this will be I'm approaching my 10th anniversary of being in the PPC field, so I'm an old guy here.
Nice.
That certainly hasn't me beat. I'm about, I think, 8 years myself. Still have a couple hairs left.
Well, cool. Let's take a look at those in attendance. So for those in attendance, we had 19% say less than a year. So welcome all of you guys that are new to the industry. 1 to 3 years was about 30%. 3 to 5 years, 27%, and then 5 years, 24%. So 1 in 4 of you guys out there are 5 years plus. So, woo, you guys are very impressive to be in the PPC field that long. I hope our trends and predictions can live up to those expectations. But thank you guys for all joining us. We're going to go ahead and get started with Mr. Matt Umbro. He's going to give us some search predictions and trends that you need to know in 2017. So the first search trend, take it away, Matt.
Great, thanks, JD. So in looking at these search trends for what we saw in 2016 and really predicting what we're going to see in 2017, you know, there are a few overarching themes that stand out. And the first one is that paid search ads continue to look more like organic listings and continue to contain more information. So what you have here is this is a paid search ad, and it has 7 lines of text between the headline, the URL, the extensions, and the description. And really, if that ad label wasn't there, you would think it was an organic listing. And, you know, this was really purposeful by Google, and Bing followed suit. But, you know, in 2016, Google removed the right-hand side ads and created expanded text ads, where the expanded text ads headlines are now roughly 60 to 65 characters, which is the same as what an organic headline is. And then subsequently, the meta description in organic listings is roughly anywhere from really 150 to 165 characters, and the description in Google and Bing now is up to 80 characters. So it's more similar to a meta description. So really, these paid ads have been following the trend of organic listings and looking a bit more natural. So if we go to the next slide, really how this plays out is if we're doing a sample search for ski boots, we see both the paid and organic listings. And at this point, the paid listings are now, they can occupy up to 4 spots above the organic listings, even pushing the organic listings much lower on the page, sometimes below the fold. But going back to our example here with the extended headlines, you see here that the paid headlines are actually longer than that organic listing, and also that those longer descriptions are similar to what you see with the meta descriptions. And this organic listing here for Rossignol, not the best meta description in general, but you can see how the length works and kind of the similarities there. And then with the paid listings, again, speaking more to more information available to users, you see all these extensions. So when we look at the REI ad, we can see that they have the call outs, the winter gear is here, join REI. They have the seller ratings extensions. And then for both skis.com and evo.com, they have the site links, and then also skis.com has the review extension, whereas Rossignol has the structured snippets. So really, aside from these paid ads looking much more organic and really native within these listings, they're containing much more information than ever before, giving users much more to potentially click on and learn more about the business. So as we move to the next slide, and we look at the second search trend. So this kind of plays into a little bit of what we were talking about first with ads being a little bit more native, and you'll see in a sec what I mean by that. But the first part of this is ads continue to be more responsive and dynamic than ever. Google AdWords now allows you to create responsive ads where essentially you just input information. You see in this image here, short headline. You can put a headline, a description, your name. You can put an image in there. And to the image to the right, you can actually search for stock images directly from the interface to put into your ad. So really these ads are much easier to create than ever before, and this barrier to entry is easier. Going back to the poll question about how long have you been in the industry? Some of you veterans in the industry will remember when really Google's display network didn't have much availability for creative, and it was all on you and your design team to upload ads there. And even though that's still probably the preferred method for many people, Google makes it a lot easier to create more appealing ads that are easier to create and update directly within the interface. So they're allowing more users to make it easier to get onto display. So moving on, even though this slide isn't necessarily a Google search ad, or a Google ad, so to speak, it goes back to the notion that these native and sponsored ads really blur the line of organic content. So we talked about in the first search trend that organic, the search listing or the paid search listings are looking much more organic. It's similar here where you have this native content directly within the organic content on the site. So this is an example on a page on tvguide.com where you have this limited time match ad. It's a sponsored ad, but it's directly within the content. It really looks native to what's being shown on the page. And I know that that's something that there has been a lot of controversy about. You'll notice it with these extraneous headlines sometimes, clickbait headlines, and also kind of blurring the line about what's really an ad and what's the content. And I think as advertisers in general and these platforms do need to work on that from the ethical standpoint. But the main thing here is that there's more sponsored content that's really native to what you're seeing as you view these pages. So display in general is becoming a lot smarter and almost camouflaging the ads better within the content. Which leads into the final search trend I have for you today. In 2016, Google released demographics for search ads, which allows you to set bid modifiers on age and gender within search network campaigns. So you've already been able to do this in display network campaigns. And in fact, Bing Ads has allowed you to do this on search network campaigns for a while. But now Google has brought audiences much more to the search network beyond just remarketing. And this is a big deal because, as you can see here, you can set these bid modifiers for these age ranges and gender. So for a product that might be more male-oriented than female, you can bid higher on males. Or, if you're selling a product and you want to hit more of the 25 to 34 age range, you can bid up much higher for them and bid lower for, for all other ranges. It's important to note, though, that some of these, there's still a lot of unknown within Google's data. So you're going to see a lot of, you can see even in this example here, unknown still gets the majority of clicks and impressions. So it's just important to keep that in mind, where you don't necessarily want to, set a negative 75% bid modifier on unknown, for example, just because Google can't catch everything. But bottom line is audience targeting isn't going anywhere. It's been being integrated more and more, and it's coming to Google and Bing, and we should really embrace it. So all this to say, here are really the three core predictions based upon those trends that I'm seeing for 2017. The first is that these new and interactive ad features will be implemented to encourage clicks, but also these on-demand conversions. So we talked a little bit about the GDN ads and the search network text ads that are looking more organic, but aside from more information there to encourage the clicks, we're also seeing some features that encourage the conversion right there. The message extensions was added to Google in Q4, where you can actually have a user fill out a message directly on your ad, and they'll text you back. And obviously, there's the call extensions as well. But I only see more features like this coming to search to allow whether you want to call it a micro moment or an actual more of a hardcore conversion. These features are coming. The second point here, these GDN ads will be easier to create. We talked about how that's been, really it's just plug and play now. You implement your information and Google will create the dynamic ads in both, in responsive sizes. So you're not creating 20 different sizes now. Google will do that for you. And additionally, it's kind of blurring the lines between the organic content on pages and what's an ad. So keep looking at that. I think we'll definitely find that there's going to continue to be questions about the ethics of really of sponsored content within the organic content on sites. So it'll be something to keep an eye on. And then finally, not necessarily groundbreaking, but will continue to go beyond keywords. I'm sure you've heard that the keyword is dead. I think that's a little exaggerated, but audiences are being much more utilized within Google now. I think Google and Bing have both taken the lead, especially at Facebook, and seeing how powerful audiences are. And I only see Google and Bing adding more audience targeting capabilities in order to keep Google and Bing users utilizing these platforms. So, and that's it from my end.
Great. Yeah, man, I couldn't agree with you more on those predictions. We got a few questions coming in for you. The first one is, how does like a native or sponsored ad differ from a text or display ad?
Sure. So I think in this case, it really depends on the platform you're using. And this is where you get into programmatic and just display advertising in general. Especially with Google, you saw the example there of how they utilize their responsive ads, but features like I think it's RankBrain. They have formats for their ads as well. Each site, various sites across the internet have their own formats you can put your ads in, but really Google's are distinctive in the nature that it'll tell you that it's from Google Ad Services, and as advertisers we kind of know the formats they're showing there. But I think depending on the site and the type of ad sizes they accept, that's how you can really tell the difference.
Cool. Yeah, and one thing too that I've noticed that you were talking about, like with the responsive text ads, was how responsive they are to the individual. We had our agency rep from Google tell us like they're even like manipulating the colors and like the fonts, like even down to that size for the responsive stuff. So I thought that was a really cool addition to kind of what you were saying. And then, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. That's a great point, JD. And with before these responsive ads came about, especially for e-commerce advertisers, Google has been using dynamic remarketing ads, and you have some control of what you can do with those. And to that end, you can utilize different fonts, different colors. I mean, you could even do things as put a bevel on a button, for example, and see what the shadow is going to look like. So I think these are going to really continue to be just more advanced as we go forward, and advertisers again are going to have it much easier to get really quality display ads showing on Google's display network.
Gotcha. All right, we've got two more quick questions. I'm going to try to kind of bundle them up for you before we move on to the ad tech predictions. But the first one is, and we hear this one a lot for a lot of clients, is how reliable do you think those demographics are moving into 2017? And then the second one, and the audience demographics thinking around age or male, female. And then the second part of that is when can we expect to see those audience demos in AdWords?
Sure. So I believe those audience demos are now in all AdWords accounts. I know they were announced at that Google Performance Summit last May, but at least from what I've seen in our accounts, they're in all of those. So you can start utilizing those immediately. With the demographics, I think you have to take them with a grain of salt. I mentioned that there's still a lot of unknown. And having said that, look at the data, see what it shows. Don't make drastic decisions either way. I think at this point it's good for experimentation to try to create some potential bid modifiers on ages or genders that are doing well. Or if you have a really extreme case where it's just geared toward one age range or gender, maybe you test it out with much higher of a bid modifier. But take it with a grain of salt, and as always, look at the data.
Yeah, great advice, man. Definitely agree with that. Let the data kind of guide you there. So awesome. Well, thanks again for those search predictions. Now up is our ad tech, and we are lucky to have the director of marketing from Adstage, Michael McEuen, go on and give us a few. But before we jump into it, another poll question. This question is, are you currently automating your monthly reporting? So yes, no, I probably should. Like I'm all Excel, like just give me an Excel doc and that's where I live. Or D, I plan to in 2017. So I can tell you here at Hanapin, we are kind of, we have a lot of automation. We do use Adstage, we use Acquisio, we use NinjaCat, we use Supermetrics, but we also use Excel. So we are kind of using everything to make sure that we are as efficient as we could possibly be. So let's see what you guys said. 46% said yes. 26 said no, but I probably should be. And then all Excel, there's my Excel friends at 17%. And then 11% said I plan to in 2017. So thank you guys for sharing that with us. I'm now going to turn it over to Mike to give us his first ad tech prediction.
Wonderful, and thank you, JD. As JD just mentioned, he was just talking about what his ad tech stack looks like. Whoever thought we'd get to that point as PPC marketers where we're seeking outside the native networks and kind of looking at different tools. So I wanted to get from an ad tech perspective, being here at an ad tech company very close to the pulse of engineering and having to kind of look at the foresight of where the trends are going. The first I wanted to really hone on is multi-channel. A lot of you might be thinking, oh, obvious, but I'll get to it a little bit second, so a little bit more nuanced. So you're actually going to see ad tech look a lot more and mirror more like MarTech or marketing tech. And marketing tech, the center of that is marketing automation. So many of you who might be in-house or more advanced agencies who are doing more of like the lead nurture, building like email sequences, landing pages, and touch points, and those kind of things, you're actually going to see the ad tech industry try to catch up to that. So first I wanted to think about, instead of thinking about isolated networks, like just looking at my cost per result in Facebook, for example, and then treating it separately from something like search or other social channels. Instead, you want to start thinking about campaigns. So you can look here, and this is on the right-hand side, an example of something like a folder. So anyone who's ran like a marketing automation instance knows folders very well. That's how you kind of organize things, similar themed things into a campaign. And you can see here, when I'm going to promote something like a white paper to a specific audience, I should really think about the terms of the performance across that campaign. So that promotion across that audience. So I started to bundle things like LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. You'll see a lot of those ad tech companies who are going to start to give that kind of dimension layer or that labeling layer and allow you to manage things more from a campaign standpoint instead of an isolated network standpoint. And to dovetail on that point, and we can go on to the next slide, I want to talk about how you're going to queue up your advertising. So in the past, things like retargeting or remarketing was really just a constant brand reminder play. Try to be top of mind. We've soon found out that it's actually way more efficient if you start looking at your advertising in a sequence, very close to something like marketing automation. So marketing automation, depending on the duration that they're in your database, or depending on if they've taken certain actions, or if they're at different lead statuses, you'll move them along that customer journey. Same thing here that can happen to advertising. So you need to start thinking about, from an ad tech perspective, companies are going to start releasing ads known as like sequences. So it can be everything from cross-network plays, or simply opting in or out audiences based on like a waterfall. So you can see in the top left corner something like, if someone came and subscribed to your blog, you might give them a white paper download as like a paid piece of content. And then depending if they filled out that white paper, you might then give them something like a case study. And so they could be triggered either by like filling out a form or visiting a certain page, or even just the duration of that cookie pool. So they came on your site, 7 days ago versus something like 30 days ago. You're probably going to want to market to them differently, and you're going to see ad tech allow you to do a lot of those kind of features. And then you look at below, some like a cross-network play. Someone like you might be running LinkedIn advertising. Someone comes to your site, and then you can capture their email, but they may not become like a sales-ready lead, or they may not actually convert. And then you start doing nurture campaigns. So you're aligning something like your email list along with Facebook and Twitter, and then you're building those kind of sequences and messaging. The other thing when I talk about multi-channel, I don't want us as PPC marketers to only think in the terms of paid media. Often other pieces of marketing influences paid media. You wonder why sometimes your brand search terms might go up. It's because you're running maybe heavy social, or you're doing television buys in tangent. And so what you start to see in the ad tech community is they're starting to sync those more non-traditional, like those traditional channels and other pieces of media along with paid media. So what I mean by that is your email campaigns that are going out, your direct mail pieces. So for anyone who uses something like Marketo, there's something called Print for Less that allows you to send direct mail pieces based on sequences. And you can align your advertising in the future to those. And then things like television spots. So there are platforms out there today, such as like 4C, that allows you to couple things like social advertising during peak television buys. So if you're running that Super Bowl ad, you're going to want to couple that with advertising to get the best bang and extension of your audience for your buck. And so that's where you're going to start to see advertising, or ad tech specifically, enable a lot of those advertisers to think cross-channel, and then also think about ads in a sequence. Moving on to prediction number 2.
I gotta stop and say thank you. I love this approach. I love this objective approach versus this channel by channel approach. I think this is something that I've seen definitely going to be a really good prediction for 2017 as we really think about moving audiences down the funnel, because audiences are channel agnostic. They don't care where they find the information. They just want the information. And so thinking of it that way, I couldn't agree with you more. Great first prediction. I'll let you get back to your second one now.
Thank you, JD. The second piece is automation. So we often think about automation from kind of a black box algorithm standpoint. Many of us have used third party or even native network things to automate our bids, which can be effective most times. There are certain use cases where you've tried CPA bidding, for example, in AdWords, or OCPM based on objective in Facebook, and it's hit or miss. So a lot of times it may work the majority of the time, but you'll have those odd accounts or odd campaigns where it just doesn't work quite right. That's not the piece I'm talking about here. This layer of automation is typically either if you're in-house or an agency, you'll often have something like a checklist that you constantly look at. Things like budget pacing, things like going across all your keywords or all your ads and looking if they've had any historic conversions, or if their conversions are higher than your kind of target, and pausing those. And this is something that we constantly do all the time. We spend a lot of time as well on reporting, whether in Excel or elsewhere, and we're spending all this time. It's very predictable. Where you see with things like marketing automation, now one marketer can seem like they have a full team underneath them, everything from design to email marketer to brand awareness and those kind of pieces executed in one system. Very similarly with their ad tech, you'll start to see those pieces of automation. So I know Google released a great feature allows you to build scripts, but many of us aren't developers. There are some great affiliate marketers in Costa Rica cruising right now for building those great scripts. But for us plain folk over here who are used to just more of the PPC platforms, we need that extra layer to make it more easy. So with that automation, it's simple, kind of like if-then statements, like if I spend this much on an ad and it doesn't perform well, I want you to either alert me or to pause that ad, and you start to build those kind of automation pieces. So this is to free marketers up. So advertisers, as you're looking and you're stewarding over more networks and oftentimes even pieces outside of paid media, you build these automation pieces, and then you're thinking about where to strategically add your budget. You're thinking about, am I targeting the right audience and am I sending the right message? That, at the end of the day, is something that you can't automate, and those are the pieces where you should be focusing your time. And on to prediction number 3. Finally, from the B2B perspective, something called attribution. This also applies to some certain B2C cases, such as education, where something like a master's degree can take a very long sales decision cycle. But overall, so in the B2B space, it says that it takes at least 7 to 13 plus touches before you even get a lead warm enough to be called a qualified sales lead, for a sales guy to reach out, perhaps do a demo. And we live in this kind of multi-channel world. The unfortunate part is because each network is typically last-click attribution, we're obviously overinflating a lot of times the number of conversions, thinking that's the number of leads, A. And then B, we don't better understand a lot of times if that lead is really quality or not. And so what you'll start to see with attribution is we'll track it down to actual realized revenue. And we'll understand all the touch points or all the different paid campaigns and those ads that drove that actual revenue. So before, I'm most guilty of this, of optimizing to something like cost per lead, when you actually find out sometimes the more costly leads are better quality and actually turn into realized revenue. So you're starting to see some platforms out there such as Visible and a few of those others. You're also starting to see a lot of the ad tech companies opening up their API and merging with things like people's individual BI tools. So your business intelligence tools where you have the realized revenue and your CRMs are talking to the ad tech platform and informing everything from kind of bid decisions and budget decisions as well. And to wrap everything up on the next slide, my 3 big ad tech predictions, and as I mentioned, ad tech is going to be modeled a lot closer to marketing tech. We're going to start to support this creation, management, and reporting across multiple channels, and we're going to start to align them with something like a marketing automation system or traditional media as well. Advertisers then are going to start to, built in ad tech, start to automate most of their mundane tasks. You shouldn't have to sit in Excel every day to look at budget pacing across from a network perspective or group or cluster of campaign perspective. You should be able to automate that piece. You should be able to automate things like underperforming keywords and those kind of checks. Instead, focusing your time on overall strategy, so budget, audience targeting, and making sure you're honing in on that, and then overall creative. A/B testing different creative, seeing what headline, what image, and what description works best. Finally, from a B2B perspective, we're no longer going to just optimize to something like cost per lead or like a marketing qualified lead. We're actually going to hold ourselves more accountable and better understand, thanks to technology, how that ad is actually impacting revenue or if it isn't. And now we can make optimization decisions based on return on ad spend and not just cost per lead. So those are my 3 predictions for this year as where the ad tech overall platforms are going.
Awesome, man. Fantastic. Love seeing that ad tech is thinking this way. You can tell that they are really, at least with these predictions, really aligned with who their audience is. So I remember a few years ago trying to like duct tape together closed loop, like for your number 3 there, like closed loop reporting. Like, okay, we got these clicks and these conversions and analytics, and then trying to match it to like Salesforce, and it's like, oh my gosh, it was just a nightmare. But anyway, we do have a few questions. The first question for you is, what would be a recommended checklist that you would use to manage your accounts? So I'm guessing this is probably going into that automation, going back to like what, point number 2 with automation.
Yeah, I think first of all, I think you try to find patterns in your overall approach to optimization. Typically from like an agency and in-house perspective, you start at the core. So you start all the way rolled up. you look at your overall budget pacing, and you look from like a bird's eye view at perhaps like that network level, what your trends are overall for your conversions. So you try to get a pulse of that, and then you start to dissect each layer. But as you're going through that, you're going to realize that when you approach a new account, or if you're kind of doing spring cleaning in your current account, there's a certain methodology you're going to do. You know your business, or you know your client's business very well. So you know things like cost per conversion thresholds, and perhaps, hopefully, if number 3 comes true, you can actually tie it back to return on ad spend. But there's a very kind of methodical way of approaching it. I think if you're looking for some great checklists, I know Blitz Metrics over they do it over kind of their Facebook agency has some wonderful ones where even people straight out of high school or college can plug right in and better understand how to optimize Facebook, for example. But you really just need to think about how you approach your accounts and your campaigns, and then see if there's similarities. And if you can, typically about 80% of your time from an optimization standpoint is making just common decisions, such as if a keyword has something like several hundred impressions, no clicks, let's give it a pause. Or if something like in the case of an ad, and it's if your target cost per conversion is something like $100 and it's trending at 200, you're going to obviously want to pause that in almost every single case or get alerted to it. So that's the way I would kind of approach checklists: is what can you automate that you would typically do the majority of the time.
Cool. Good one, man. And for those also listening, another good place for like a checklist, in addition to Blitz Metrics, is Certified Knowledge. That's Brad Getty's blog. A friend, Vyland, he's over in iProspect in Amsterdam, and he has put together it's like 18-part series blog. I mean, it is massive. I think he's like on 15, but it's an entire like audit checklist for like different things, like remarketing or like display or search. But check that out as well. And I'll move on to the last question. I think this one is perfect for you. Is what platform can you recommend for integrating multi-channel ad campaigns?
Yeah, so I think as a whole, there's a couple of them. Selfishly, I work at Adstage, being one of those. But there's also some great, some of the historic players in the space, like the Quizio, Kenshiro, the Marins of the world, have started to think more social, and they've started to integrate that more into their data and their approach. There's also very kind of niche ones. So for, I was talking about, something like a print for less integration. So direct mail with your ad tech that kind of is informed by some things like CRMs. There's like a company called Terminus out there. So it really depends on, and then there's attribution solutions, like I mentioned, like Visible. It's really just looking at what pieces do you need in your stack, and looking from the standpoint of what's going to enable your team instead of having to have like an admin actively manage all these. So I think you just look at all the tech out there and you figure out what's going to be the best for your individual use case.
Perfect. All right. And then we have a few questions. The resources that I named, and then I'll move on to the social media part of it, it was Certified Knowledge. If you just Google Certified Knowledge, like audit, and then what Michael mentioned was Blitz Metrics. If you look up those two. Oh, go ahead.
They have something known as a digital plumbing guide somewhere on their site, and that's the one I'd recommend. It goes you through everything kind of set up through optimization from a checklist standpoint.
Gotcha. Cool. And for the sake of time, Michael, there's a few more questions rolling in. We're going to move on to the social media predictions, and we'll come back and we'll look at those questions. But keep them coming in. We really appreciate it. But for the sake of time, we're going to move on to this thing, social. Cool. So I'm going to kind of walk you through two predictions and two trends that I see. So I kind of broke them up separately to kind of walk you guys through my social media predictions for 2017. The first one, the bots, they're coming. They're here. We're pretty much in a mobile-first messaging experience. Like, that is, if you look at Facebook as a whole, you look at Twitter, you look at Pinterest, you look at Instagram, Snapchat, that's probably where you're spending close to 80% of your time on your mobile phone. And if you even look at your campaign results, that's probably where about 80% of your traffic is coming from as well. So what we have seen is Facebook has jumped fully into the conversational commerce bandwagon. So conversational commerce bandwagon. And they're betting big that they could probably turn this popular messaging app, which at any given time is like a top 5 app in the App Store, into a business messaging like powerhouse. So if you guys remember back in 2015, they integrated this peer-to-peer payments. So that's where you could send payments to like another friend. Of course, they're also getting the data from that, but they were also trying to make it easier for you to send money. And they were also testing, will people actually do this? Are people comfortable with putting in their credit card information, sending money to someone else, rather than going to maybe like PayPal or like Venmo or something like that? And now they've kind of integrated this with like a full chatbot API. So businesses can actually create these interactions for customers to occur like right within the Facebook messaging app. Like, and what I mean by that is you can now like order flowers from 1-800-Flowers within the Messenger app. You can like buy stuff from, for example, like Nordstrom. You can even like call an Uber. Like here's 2 examples of Uber. Like you're actually in Facebook Messenger and you can give them your like location. If you have your location settings on, they'll figure out right where you are, and you can actually order it and request it right within Messenger without even like opening up the other app and figuring this out. This other one is from Nordstrom. And the really cool part with this actually like just happened here like this last like holiday season, where they used a series of questions and advanced API-based data sets. And what they did was it walked you through an actual purchase as if it was like a real like concierge. And this conversation like started with the chatbot inviting users to like pick whether they would like to chat with the representative or like initiate the actual like holiday gift module. So they actually gave people the option, and they provided multiple choice menus, and depending on the input, the chatbot would then like offer them some gift ideas and specifically like picked for them. I just think that's like incredibly impressive whenever you think about this. We've actually played around with this here at Hanapin with some messenger bots. There's a bunch of free ones out there, so you can go in and you can like, actually like set up sequences. And the goal, like we're trying to use maybe like for PPC Hero, maybe maybe we're trying to give you the latest blog that came out, or maybe for HeroConf, maybe we want to make sure that you take advantage of early bird rates. So there are different ways that you can actually use the messenger bot to provide value, but also try to like get an ROI out of it. And I think that this is going to be huge for 2017 as we see the big brands have kind of already jumped on it, but now we're going to see the small, medium-sized businesses start to kind of like slowly transition into figuring out how they can best use these bots to their advantage. My second trend is investment in social analytics tools. So this was done by Simply Measured, the 2016 State of Social Marketing Report, and they found that 61%, so 6 out of 4 marketers, see that measuring ROI as a challenge. And this is really coming about more than anything like cross-device is really where this limitation is, kind of where I see it. And so where I see analytics tools being invested in is kind of cross-device, but also just the second part of that is, if you see, securing budget and resources for social is their other biggest challenge. So these two are going to go hand in hand, because if you can't measure it, then you're not going to be able to understand the ROI. And so I think they're finally able to like articulate this in a way to where maybe the C-level, maybe the business owners are more willing to invest in these social analytics tools and these products, because now you can start to understand and measure the full effectiveness of your campaigns, but also getting a deeper understanding of your customer desires, their responsiveness, their location, their demographics, how they're interacting with your campaigns. And this goes to organic and on your ad side. So I see this becoming a really big investment for 2017 and probably going into 2018 as companies are starting to evaluate more and more tools, because if you haven't seen, there are so many tools out there when it comes to like social analytics. So G2 Crowd, they put together the best social analytics software. If you just typed that in, you would see this graph right here, and you'll see there are listening tools, engagement tools, attribution, there are publisher, there are influencers, there are management, there are reporting tools, all of these different types of tool. I haven't found one tool that does it all. It doesn't really exist, and if it did, it would probably be way too expensive for probably 95% of businesses out there. But as you're thinking about it, there are a bunch of free ones. Go in there, demo them, take the free ones. Just know that the free ones are going to be, probably pretty helpful, but they may not offer the depth and the breadth of data that you're looking for. So you're probably going to have to pay for these social analytics tools and know that you're going to get more analytical power, more features, even though it might be kind of expensive for those small, maybe like mid-market businesses. But those are my two biggest trends that I see headed for social media marketers. Now to move on to two trends that I'm seeing. Social is officially pay to play. That is no surprise. It's been that way for the longest time. This is from Social Flow, looking at January through July of 2016. If they did, I'm sure they will, July through December coming out, you're going to see reach dropping off even more. So the only way you're really going to reach now is to pay to play. And so what that means is I see more community managers transitioning into more paid social advertising. So the people that were typically the ones that were on the front lines of your customer service, or they were handling all of the organic, they're now going to be pushed into more, well, what about setting up a campaign? Or what about boosting that post? Or, how do we get in front of all of these different, in front of our actual audience that we've built up, So be ready for it. One drawback I see to this is community managers may not be trained up or have the knowledge to do that. And so I would encourage you guys, as you're trying to jump into this, is to make sure that you understand what you're doing, understand how to get in there. There are tons of free resources out there. Check out the PPC Hero blog. We try to do as best we can. Check out Adstage blog. They have a training resource library as well. Look around. There are a lot of really good blogs and trainings out there. So know that you're not alone, and feel free to reach out to any of us on Twitter. You'll find that the PPC community of social media is extremely open. Matt Umbro has started the PPC chat. You guys can join in on Twitter Tuesdays at noon Eastern to kind of understand and engage more with people that are doing this if you feel like you're not quite ready to jump into that.
I was gonna say, JD, too. Based upon this webinar, our first chat of the year is this Tuesday, and it's going to be integrating PPC with other channels. So kind of following the theme a bit.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Thanks for that input. So yeah, if you guys are available next Tuesday, again, hashtag PPC chat on Twitter, and hopefully you guys can join in. I will do my best to be there, Matt.
Sounds good.
And my last one. This one is a funny one. This is my boldest prediction. I have no idea if it's going to be true. All right, so bear with me, and I'll try to explain it as quickly as I can. So what we saw in 2016 was brands get into live video. They started experimenting with it. We saw platforms offering it more. So Facebook got in. It's now available on Instagram. It's available now native in Twitter. Of course, Snapchat, you guys can do this as well. But how do we understand what live video means to my business? So in 2017, we're going to see brands start implementing live video. And just remember that live video is more about documenting, not creating. So you're not hiring a video company to go out and create you a video. You're actually just documenting something. And if your brand is seeing like declining organic engagement and like disappointing view counts, then start broadcasting live and see what happens. Because as you guys have probably all noticed in your own like Facebook feed, is you will get notified. It'll start showing up in the news feed, even though it happened 5 hours ago. So the biggest challenge that you're probably going to have with live video is, how do you like stop someone from like talking with their spouse to be interrupted from like a decongestant brand? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to make sure that it's interesting. You have to make sure that it's relevant at the same time, because you don't want to like turn your social environment into a sales catalog. However, that's where I think it's going to go. So, um, what I see is channels are going to look to monetize live video. So you're going to see Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. They're going to get everyone using it, and then they're going to say, okay, let's monetize this. Maybe it's you have to pay to do a live video. Maybe they're going to put ads in the middle of the live video, and then brands are going to go, okay, sweet. Well, if you're going to charge me for it, then I want ROI from it. So how do I monetize these captive audiences? And then you're going to see audiences go, man, I really hate this, but actually I kind of love it, but now I hate it again, which is pretty much the adoption for all new features of social media. So my bold prediction is you're eventually going to see live videos that maybe are like Facebook infomercials. You're going to have like this buy now like card maybe coming up to where you can integrate a shopping campaign to a live video campaign. So I really see this working well, probably like for like e-commerce, well-recognized brands to kind of take off. But that's my boldest prediction that I've got for you guys. To do my recap here, let's push the button and drop the bass. It's going to be messaging bots, investment in tools, community managers doing more paid advertising, and then live video ad adoption. So if we could like recap it all, I think we can say we're going to see more interactive ads. This is on search, this is on display, this is even within social. We're going to see brands and companies understanding who their audience is and their demographics. We're going to see them making bid changes across platforms. We're going to see campaigns launching across platforms, because it's now going to be about audiences and objective based rather than just the channel based. We're also going to see more channels being involved. As we kind of mentioned before, it's no longer just going to be siloed approaches between maybe just search. We're going to see search interacting with social, interacting with email, interacting with your CRMs. So we see that being a really cool trend to look out for. And of course, we have to be able to measure all of this and give some attribution. So investment in attribution, investment in these tools. And then our last one is really just that collaboration. You can't work in a silo anymore. You would be surprised at how much your email team knows about your audience, and probably more than you do. So they know those habits. Take a look at them, interact with them, and those are our big trends that we're seeing for 2017. And we, of course, for making it this far, we have an offer for you guys. Mike, do you want to tell us about the Adstage offer?
Absolutely. So we want to make sure that when you guys come to, the looking at end of year reporting and also looking towards automating a lot of the pieces, we want to extend to you a 30-day trial. So typically, it's 14 days, but thanks to this great audience, we want you to really beat up the tool, give us feedback overall. So we're offering a 30-day trial to anybody on the webinar today. And then on to your offer, JD.
Yeah, so we are giving away free solutions blueprints, and what they are is like an account audit from our experts here at Hanapin. It could be me, it could be Matt, it could be one of our PPC heroes, but it's a free custom account analysis for companies and brands that are spending over $15,000 a month in ad spend. So if you guys are interested, fill out this offer. You guys can say no, you guys can say I'd like both, or you could just pick Adstage, or you could just pick Hanapin. So thank you guys for filling out that poll for us. And once we get done with the poll and it closes us out, we're going to be taking some live questions from you guys. And so while we're waiting for you guys to fill out the poll, a question for me was like, how do we mitigate damage from those bad days? And do you increase bids on days with best, conversion rate, CTR, and other? It really depends. It really depends on how tight the budget is. It really depends on the client, especially on social. Moving from a daily budget into a lifetime budget, they really are just like very different things. And so I can't say that we do it across the board, but Yes, we do have some clients that we reduce daily spend on certain days and we increase bids on certain days. And we have some clients that we just have a daily budget and we try to do our best within that daily budget. So, terrible answer. The answer is it depends, but as it always is with digital marketing. Um, let's see here. Actually, I'm going to open this up to everyone. Is there a good blog post or case study on how to set up a multi-channel campaign for a PPC guy? So I'll turn it over. Mike, do you guys have anything on the Adstage blog for setting up multi-channel campaigns?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to reach out to this individual and I can share with the collective group. There's certainly a couple of resources out there, but I will say it's a little bit more nuanced. There's a couple of resources I'll point your way as far as like ad sequencing is concerned, and that's a great place to start and better understand how it kind of fits in the fold.
Gotcha. And then, Matt, is there anything that you know of, maybe on the PPC Hero blog or any other industry resources for someone looking on multi-channel campaigns?
Yeah, I was going to say, I know some of our authors recently have written some posts about multi-channel attribution and highlighted some examples. If you go to ppchero.com and just do a search for attribution or multi-channel attribution, you'll see a bunch of articles, white papers, and webinars that speak to the topic.
Cool. Yeah, and the last question for me was free tools would I recommend? Actually, I just wrote a blog about this on the PPC Hero website. So again, I'll kind of point you to that specifically for Facebook. So if you're looking for some tools that I would recommend, I listed out 15 tools, I believe. And again, there are so many other ones that I didn't get to because there's just so many out there I can't even keep up with. So check out that blog, and then also check out that G2 crowd if you're looking for like some social analytics tools, because a lot of those tools have their own blogs, and they do a really good job of also kind of educating you as well. So, all right, that we've got about 3 to 4 minutes left, and let's take a look at here. Question here. I'll kind of open this up to the group as well. How do you deal with Bing's inability to update the UI outside of importing from AdWords? For example, you still can't copy paste ad groups. Any insights there? Maybe I'll go to you first, Matt, dealing with Bing's inability to update the UI.
Yeah, you know, I mean, unfortunately, it's just something you have to work with. I mean, I think Bing has made some good improvements to the UI. I still use the editor a lot. I feel like, especially when I'm importing, I use the editor. I feel that's the most consistent and user-friendly way to import campaigns over. So yeah, I would say to this person, if you're not utilizing Bing Ads Editor, which by the way is now available for Mac as well, if you're not utilizing that to do your imports, then I'd give that a shot and see how that works out for you.
Yeah, I agree with that. Michael, you want to add anything to that?
No, you stole the thunder there. Now they released that Mac version. And then if you're, you know, there's famously say there's 3 types of advertisers: the UI guys, the offline editor guys, and then the spreadsheet guys. You can always, if you get very advanced with things, go in and bulk upload spreadsheets as well. So if that's a quicker way for you to create things like ad groups, all for it. And then use the editor to really fill out some of the things like ad copy, which you can copy and paste and quickly change out different keywords within.
Yeah, that's a good point too there. All right, we got one here for you, Michael. This is going to be a tough one. All right, so I'm going to try to say it slow. If this is long, all right, you ready? Is there a way to run an automation that crawls your landing page for a Google search ad and pauses your ad group if the landing page shows less than X amount of products? So what they're specifically referring to is an e-commerce business that may run out of stock, and we don't want to waste money on an empty landing page.
That's a great question. So I do think there's solutions in the market. I think one of the better places to look is in some of the open Google AdWords script libraries. I know they have something very similar. I know for a fact that there's one that sends you at least a report of broken links specific to those SKUs, and will give you kind of like an email alert around it. I do believe there is a solution in market, though, that does automatically pause that when inventory is depleted. You may want to look, so I'm not sure if they completely have it, but Optimizer by Fred Valleys and that group, they really specialize in e-commerce and specifically AdWords scripts. It's a great place to start, and they likely have something very close to what you want there. Otherwise, I would look in that open library in Google Scripts. Someone's built something very close, if not just give you an alert, so you know which ones to quickly pause on your end.
Matt, you want to add anything, being an e-commerce guy?
Yeah, so I agree with what Michael's saying, and to his point about Optimizer, we use that on a couple of our e-commerce accounts here, and we have the script set up for, if a landing page isn't working or a site link isn't working. Actually, a couple of years ago, at Hanapin, we did create a script. I don't know all the details because I didn't develop it. I was just utilizing it. But we did create a script that actually did this very thing where it basically created a label on all ad groups that led to an out-of-stock page. So it wasn't automatically making the change, but it was creating that label, and then all you had to do was filter by the label, and you could, take action from there. So you can definitely do it through scripts, and to Michael's point, I'm sure there's there's software out there that does that, but depending on how well you do with scripts, you can do it there.
Cool. All right, last question. It's just too good. I know that we're over time. If you guys are out there and you need to drop off, totally cool. But just quickly, Matt, you start, then Michael, then I'll go. The question is, what one area would you suggest PPC managers need to brush up on or learn about this coming year in order to create the best results? Matt.
So I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach. I think the client relations and client communications side is what is best for PPC managers to improve upon. I think from a day-to-day basis, we're always looking at the tactical side and learning in order to provide the best results, which is absolutely necessary. But I've always felt that running a good PPC account is equal parts tactical and client relations. So whether it's reading blogs about the client relation aspects, learning social cues, communication classes, stuff like that. And this is digital marketing in general, but I would recommend PPCers improve on client communication skills.
Cool, that's a good one. All right.
From my perspective, I really feel it's data management, and so I think the very first place as a PPC marketer is to better understand Google Tag Manager and really understand the funnels, everything from outside of just forms, which are easier to track because there's a destination URL, on-click paths, so certain button clicks and those kind of pieces, and understanding how all your custom audiences, so across like Facebook, across things like Google and Twitter, all can be combined together, and how you want to track those individual pieces. And then later, understanding how PPC data passes through to something like a CRM or a marketing automation system. Your Google custom URL builder is not going to necessarily pass that right string over and give it source credit. So oftentimes you have to bake something like a hidden field on all your landing pages, and that will pass the necessary information onto marketing automation CRM that gives you credit for your paid media.
Cool. My last one would be probably knowing your customer. I think it's the customer journey, like knowing the channels they're on, how they interact with it when they come in from Facebook, then do an organic search, then come back in direct, sign up for an email, they get your email, then convert. You should be able to know that. So I think that's going to be huge, and then knowing those pain points is going to be really big. I think all of our ad copy could get so much better with our messaging sequence to be where the customer is based on the decisions and where they have gone based off your website or the content they've interacted with or downloaded. So it sounds like we got some really good ones. We are over time. I thank you guys for attending this webinar. If you have any questions, please reach out. You guys can reach out to us at Hanapin at marketing@hanapinmarketing.com. You can reach out to Adstage, and this is Michael at adstage.io. Again, thank you guys for all attending. We'll go and check out that hashtag ThinkPPC for any other questions. And if we didn't get to your question, please feel free to send us a tweet, and we'll make sure to get to those when we can. Thank you guys, and have a happy 2017.